All right, good morning. This is episode 4 of building a social media app with Expo. Up until this point, we've used Redux. We installed Redux. We installed Expo Router, and we're using that. And now the next thing is to get away from using fake data. We've been faking our data this whole time. If I go source data, we just got some fake posts which point to a user. These users have a fake ID. Yeah, now it's time to go and create an account and then work on creating data. So we'll create some documents, we'll update some documents, we'll delete some documents, we'll work with I won't work much with Firestore rules, database rules, which are like security stuff. But So yeah, we'll just do the default. Okay, sweet. So yeah, we want to go ahead. Let me go and just run the project first. We could. I don't want to do that. Need to install the following packages. Maybe I gotta do yarn. Okay, there we go. Okay, so remember we start in the layout file. That takes us that just loads, and then once it's done, it's going to take us to index. Once index is done, it's going to take us to home here. Cannot use JSX. Really? Why? What is this yawn at us for? It's gonna happen in all the files? Yeah, what? Cannot use JSX unless that is provided. What did I do? I wasn't getting this before. tsconfig. Consider adding an import instead. What in the world is going on? You guys seen that, right? I didn't do. Was it just that I didn't run an npx expo install? I guess. Sure, fine. Sure, fine. Okay, so so this goes to home. What I think I'm going to do is go to root instead for React. Const root. Just do this. And oops. Yeah, what's going on here? Oh, that's all I was about to say. Okay, so export default root. And what we're going to do here is we're going to have a use effect. And we'll come back to this later at another point. But what we're going to do is, let's see, we're in post. I want to do this. So router, expo router. Router dot push routes dot. We're gonna update this to do sign up equals sign up. And then inside of here, we're going to do sign up.tsx, import React on sign up equals that. On styles equals style sheet. Style sheet dot create. Boom, boom, boom. Container. Return safe area view. Edges top. View. Text sign up. And then we will export default sign up. Okay. It's going to be double quote. Import text. And then this will take us to here. This will do this. What we'll do is we'll do set timeout. We'll do that, and then we'll wait 1 second. What we're doing here is this screen is going to be in charge of, and I'll see what's not working, but this screen is going to be in charge of like checking if we are signed in to Firebase already. Firebase keeps the auth state across like app sessions. So if you sign in, it'll know that that you signed in during the last session and you never signed out. So yeah. So okay, let's see what's going on. This is home, so then this actually needs to be root. We need to go to root. Maybe root is just the index, probably. But I think we want to keep index just by itself. We'll see how the screen flow looks, but yeah, we'll see how this goes. So you saw that it takes a second to get to sign up. So yeah. So for sign up, what we're going to do is we'll do our header. We'll show the logo. Welcome to social media app. Okay. What I'm going to do is do styles.main. Guess we'll just do flex one. Yeah, I don't know that we want to do flex. I'll leave that. Header. Heading, I guess. Align self is center. TS config isn't like pretty or something like that. Single quotes, expo, lint. I want single quotes. ESLint, JRS. To me, I replaced the following line. That's why my the two answers here helped me get the solution that worked for me. My ES, I added the following. I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do here. Nice. Okay, looks like I'm supposed to do that. Margin 10. Okay. So now we will have two imports, two inputs. Sorry. I think for this we will, yeah, just do email and password. So we'll just do that quickly. And I'll create a reusable input component. Import React export const app inputs. Text import return text input iOS props. Is there just a props? Yeah. Props, const, blank from props. We're going to do, I don't want that, equals props. We're going to do auto correct, auto capitalize, auto complete. We're going to do return text input. Oops. We're going to need a value. Value is going to be a string. On change, it's going to be a value string. On change. Value. It's going to be value. On change text, I think is what we want, actually. We're going to do a style. Styles dot input const styles equals style sheet. Inputs with I think what we want up here is const input styles equals new style. styles.input. And we'll just set some defaults here. So we'll do a background color of white. Do I have a white? No. We'll do a border radius short of 8, a border width of 1, a border color of primary, blue, orange. I know we got colors in here. Oh, yeah, border light gray. Border light gray, height is 45, width is 80%. And we'll kind of go from here. So let me fix all of these things. App input. And we normally do Redux for this, but we don't want to store the password in Redux. We'll just do it locally. So, yeah, email, set email. I don't want to do React dot. Calls password. Value is email. On change text is set email. There we go. So what we want to do here input container. %, line cell center. The question is, do we want the input to be 100% of its container, or do we want, and then have the container determine the size? Or do we want the input to be in charge of its spacing in relation to the parent? I feel like we want the parent to be in charge. So what that would mean is that when we're down here, width is going to be 100%, and then people can change it. Custom styles, view style. Custom styles is an empty object to start. What's going on here? Custom styles, very cool. But I'll get to that autocorrect stuff in a second. But what I want here is I'll also have like an input heading, input label, import React, auth input label. Props, let's deconstruct like we always do. And then we'll do const styles equals styles sheet dot create label. Don't want margin bottom. Don't want bold. I think we'll do like a 600. That's kind of my go-to. Label, do all that stuff. Then it's yelling at us because we have this. So now if I go here, then what I can do is do input label. And I think instead of value, we should do text. Very cool. Very cool. And then what we can do down here, oh, excuse me, is add some spacing. Some spacing here. Password. That's email. This is going to be password. This is going to be set password. Sounds good. Cool. Couple issues. One is I can see the text as I type the password. Another is you see the, let's say, sometimes it also autocorrects. So yeah, we don't want the auto capitalize in the beginning, and we don't want autocorrect for any of these, and we don't want to see this for the password. So I'm going to go ahead and do one more thing. I think for this, we should do padding horizontal 5. 10. So at least we're starting a little bit inside. You see how like auto-corrected? We want people to be able to write everything that they want. And that has to do with these props. So autocorrect is a Boolean, which is going to be false. Auto capitalize is a string, which has a couple values of none, sentence, just whatever. We're going to do none. And then, what's the last one? Autocomplete. Oh, sorry. Autocorrect. Auto capitalize. Autocomplete. Yeah. So we want to use the defaults, but then want to leave it up to the parent to determine what they want to do. So this is going to be auto capitalize is going to be none. Autocomplete is going to be false, or autocomplete is what? I guess we don't need autocomplete. I'm going to take that out for now. I feel like we maybe don't need it. Autocorrect is what we want, okay? And then that's going to make it so that if it's lowercase, it's lowercase. Okay. So I'm going to do matt@trouthouse.tech.com. Right, and then we can see this, and it's also autocorrect. So we don't want that. So we're going to do the same thing over here to get rid of like the autocorrect and the capitalization, all that stuff. But now we need to make it so that you can't actually see the password. How we do that is by going into here and then specifying secure text entry, which is going to be false to start, and it's a Boolean. So now if we go into here and do secure text entry as true, right? I could do this, but it's the same exact thing as this. Then when I start typing, we can see that it is hidden. So that's really all we want for that. What I'm going to create in here is I'm also going to do a continue button. Import React, export const continue button. Type props is a child, which is going to take a JSX.element. And we might need to be doing something else, but that's what I always use. Props, return, touchable, opacity, props that, not that. Child, we're also going to need an onPress, which is a void. onPress. On styles. So also need style sheet. Container. This is going to be width of 100%, height of 50, just a little bit bigger than the inputs. Border radius of 8, sure. Background color of primary. So let me go ahead and pull up Figma. I just want this color. Colors. Align items. Center, justify content center, right? This is going to put the child in the middle. And then we're going to do style is styles.container. Sweet. And that's really all we got to do. Oh, I lied. So what we want to do here, though, is same as before. Const button styles. View style. Styles.container. And then sometimes we want to pass custom button styles, view style. I guess local button styles. We'll do that. Sweet. Why is this yelling at me? Sure. I guess it organizes that for me, which is cool. Sorry, I haven't been checking. Okay, yeah. Totally forgot about you. Okay, so continue button. Then what we can do, so that's the input container. Spacing. What I'm going to also do is a button text. Got tsx. Import React export const button text. Let me actually do just this. It's going to be really the same thing, but just different styles. The message when we started back. We have those listeners. 1 second. Okay, so button text. So 16 is this. I feel like that's a good button text. Maybe we'll do 18. And then the color we'll do white. Okay, so let me go to here and we'll do child. We'll do button text. Text is sign create account. And we'll probably add some more information here. Const on create account. And we'll move this to Redux, I think is what we want. Console create account. Oh, I always do that. Nice. Okay. I think in this case we'll leave it up to the button. It's a little different than the input because this has like, I mean, is it though? Definitely don't want 100%, but I don't want to wrap this in like a thing down here. Yeah, I'll just keep it consistent with what we got. So then I feel like what that means is that we'll just do that, and then instead of input container, we'll do element container. Very cool. Now we can see create account is pressed there. We won't, for the sake of the video, we won't. I don't want to spend all this time. We're spending a bunch of time already on this auth. I'll just keep it simple and not do like any validation or stuff like that. You should make sure that this is an email. You should make sure that a password is provided. That you send error messages and stuff like that. But I just want to get in and actually start creating stuff. So let's go ahead and create a thunk. Our first thunk, I guess, which is cool. Import TS. Okay, so let's. We need Redux. We got Redux toolkit. Let me pull up another project up here because I don't quite remember the setup for a thunk. Pull up Women Heart. We'll go to the thunks. I'll just pull this in and get rid of this. And we haven't even done the Firebase stuff. That's so fun. Oh. Fix all auto-fixable problems. Delete all the unused inputs. So we need this. We need to create this in the store. We need to create, let's see. So we got app thunk. Inside of Redux, we need to create an app thunk. App thunk comes with a thunk action, and it also comes with an action. And then we can use that here. We're no longer getting yelled at. All right, so let me go ahead and remove this. I'll talk about this in a minute. And we're going to do create user account thunk. Anytime we are interacting with Firebase or Redux, we should, anytime we're interacting with Firebase, and anytime we are mutating something in Redux, we should be working through a thunk. This is my preference. Is what we found success with. Simplest way to do the things. If we're reading data, we can obviously read data from Redux. We should never read data from Firebase directly in the UI or hook. But if we are reading data from Redux, we can do that in the UI or hook. We would do it in the UI if it's simple and straightforward, and like only, even if it's not extremely straightforward, but it's only like a one-time use case. But if we're doing calculations a bunch across various files, for numbers and stuff like that, or formatting across files, a whole bunch of formatting for like one use case, one type of use case as repeated across the platform, then we would look to maybe move that to a hook. But try to stay away from hooks as much as possible. They get re-rendered a bunch, and then we have to manage the state of the hook, also managing the state of the file, and it's just a pain. So a thunk is a way for us. It's like it's called middleware. It's a way for us to make like a little pit stop to do stuff, like a dispatcher, if you will. So so what we're gonna do here is to type create user account thunk props, and we're gonna pass it a user, which is a partial user, and we're going to pass it an on success, pass it an on error. What we're going to do here, create user account thunk props. Okay. So what we're going to do is const new user equals object.assign. I don't know that we're going to do this. I think what we're going to do instead is just pass the email, password, and we're going to pass the name. And this is going to be email, password, name. So I do new user, and I'm going to fill in these props here, autofill the props. So we got the ID. Let's not do first name. Let's just do name. And we'll update everything elsewhere, which will probably be a bunch. Name is just going to be name. Username is going to be that. Let's do email. It's going to be email. That means on the user. We also need an email. I guess we also need username. So yeah, this is why I think we should move to do the stuff instead of this. So what I'm going to do is do user equals use app selector state.user state.user. Second. Okay, so then this is user.email. This is going to be text. So then up here, just like elsewhere, we'll need const dispatch equals use app dispatch. Separate this a little bit. Dispatch user actions dot set not set user. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this. Name, email. Okay. And then we're gonna do set name. Do that. And what we want here, because this just takes in any, like payload at this point is any. We want to enforce that this is a string. So what we're going to do is call payload action string. And now if you hover over action.payload, you'll see that it's a string, right? So that's importante. Set email, set username, set bio. Okay, cool. We'll go back to here. We'll do text.set email. Text. Get rid of one of those. Okay, we'll come down to here. We want to keep password local. Yeah, we want to keep password local. And then up here, let's, instead of doing another extra. Yeah, instead of doing email first, we'll go ahead and do name first and then username afterwards. Name, user dot name, set name, and then una más. We'll do email, we'll do username. Oh, sorry, we'll do name, we'll do username, and then we'll do email. And 10 is excessive. It's really 20, right? Because it does top and bottom. Like I said, I will not do any validation for this just for the sake of the video. Like I said, we haven't even gotten into Firebase yet. Like we should verify that the username is unique. We got to verify it. I mean, Firebase will verify about the email. We should prompt that. We should also probably do like a confirm password. A lot of people don't do confirm passwords, but I'm a fan of confirm password. So yeah. So why we moved everything to Redux is because then I don't have to do this. Because I was gonna have to add username and then name and stuff like that, like we have here. But you know, I don't really want to do that. And what this becomes is what we were going to do before. It goes object.assign user, right? And you're like, well, what's going on here? What we got to do here is do state. And then up here actually becomes state.user. All right, so now we have access to Redux. This creates a new instance of this so that we can do new user.id. Let's go ahead and create an API folder. Inside of this API, we're going to create a Firestore. Inside of this Firestore, we're going to do a utils.ts. And then I'm going to do Firestore util generate Firebase ID. Okay, so this project doesn't have it. It's okay. Code. We'll need a couple things. So let me open up another project. Generate Firebase ID is what we want. So we'll do this. We'll import Firebase, Firestore, sorry. So we haven't actually done this yet. Okay. I need to take a step back because we're moving too fast. All right, so just pause this for now. We'll come back. We need to actually go and install Firebase now. So let me just do a quick review. So what I did was app/layout. When it's done, it takes you to index.tsx. We have changed this file to go from the home screen, which is that list of posts, of fake posts. We instead take it to the root file. The reason we have a root file is because this is where the app is going to kind of like hang for a second when the app loads. This is where the session is going to hang for a second, and then we're going to use the Firebase package to determine if we are signed in, if we have signed in previously or not. If the answer is yes, we're going to load the user data, and then we're going to take them to the app. If they have not, then we're going to take them to the sign up screen. Right now, it's just taking a second, literally 1 second, and then taking them to the sign up screen, which is what you're looking at here. So the sign up screen has a couple form inputs. It has one for name, username, email, password. I created 3 reusable components here in this, this session that we're in. One is the input label. So all of our inputs, they are generally going to look the same. So we should have the input label be, essentially the same styles as well. And that's just a wrapper around the text component with some predefined styles so that we're not doing this everywhere. And then sometimes, if we don't have this, sometimes people do 15, sometimes people will do 17, sometimes people will do bold, right? And all that stuff. We don't want to do that. So we have input label. Oops. We have input label. We also have app input, which is just a wrapper around text input, where we allow the user to specify a couple properties. We create a type. We created we want to pass app input some properties. One of the properties that we want to pass is value. The other one is on change text. We defined one custom property called custom styles so that we can just override the default styles a little bit. And then we're also our property, the properties that we pass at app input also contain all of the properties for text input props, right? So text input props has, where is it? Text input base, text input component, text input props has a ton of properties. It uses all the same view properties, so stuff like height, width, background color, all that stuff. And then it has some specific properties to the text input for iOS, which you can, I would definitely go ahead and do this. I would read the documentation, go through, and just once or twice, especially as you're starting out, just like look at all the properties for text input. Just read them. Try if you can understand them all. That's great. If you can understand half of them or 10 of them, whatever it is, just give yourself some reps in that gym, and it'll eventually start to click. You'll start to remember, I'm in this use case. I remember there being a certain prop for text input, right? So yeah. So creating just a reusable app input focus. The reason we're doing this is to, one, remove the need to do this everywhere, and then mainly the styles. Keep the styles the same for your inputs. Is a great idea. Yeah. Okay. And then the last one we did was the continue button, which is the big button that spans 100% of its container, and then it just has the height and width and the spacing that we want, the positioning and stuff like that. We got into some thunk stuff. So all these inputs actually are hooked up to Redux, just like we did elsewhere. Have we done elsewhere? I don't know if we've done that actually in this video. Yeah, I don't think we have. Sorry. That was all the other videos we've done Redux stuff. Okay, so we have input. This input is hooked up to, we have inputs. This input is hooked up to the state.user slice, which I guess we talked about in order to, the user slice is the current, is like the current signed in user. Whereas the current user is the one that, if we're looking at a bunch of posts, we select on the post and then we select on the profile, we go to the profile, that profile is using the current user slice. Whereas this is currently the app user. Okay. So that's that. As we are going through the sign up page, we're just updating Redux. We're just updating that slice. And that's so that we can use that information at a later point via the thunk instead of passing properties, which I do apologize that I jumped ahead on that, but yeah, we'll check that out. Okay, so what are we at? We're at 50 minutes. So I'm gonna definitely go 2 hours today. I'm gonna try my best, just because this took a lot longer than I had hoped. So yeah, let's go ahead and add Firebase now. Okay, so add Firebase to Expo app. So Firebase, simple to use database. It does all the hard stuff for us, and using it is actually super simple. So there's a Firebase JavaScript SDK, which is like yeah, just a native way, not a native way, but like a manual way to install Firebase, which I have no interest in. React Native Firebase is a great package. I've been using them since I started with React Native way back. So I'm going to go ahead and use React Native Firebase. So React Native Firebase provides access to native code by wrapping the native SDKs for Android and iOS into a JavaScript API. So it's just a fancy API. It's just a way, they just, like I said, they did all the hard parts of talking between Firebase and between React Native and Firebase. It creates a bunch of, has a ton of logic at the native iOS and Android level that actually uses the SDK. This is what I'm pretty sure, that uses the base SDK to, like I said, do the things, create stuff, update stuff, authenticate, and all that stuff. It just makes it much easier. The difference between the two, a big difference between the two, is if you're using the SDK, you'll have to like declare your like Firebase config setup, which we'll get to locally in the file, whereas with the Firebase React Native Firebase library, we just have to include a file that Firebase generates for us. So we'll get to that. Okay, so let's just go ahead and install. I won't get into the benefits or the specifics of Firebase. So first so the issue right now is that React Native Firebase requires some native code. And as is, I think we're using the Expo Go like flow or app, whatever it is. We can't use React Native Firebase as Expo Go stands, and that's because one of the benefits of Expo Go is that we don't have to get into the native level, and that makes it super easy to like spin up concepts and work on smaller projects and everything. But when you get into like I don't want to sound like I'm bashing it, but it seems like when you get into like a real scenario where you're using a ton of like external packages, especially some of these beefier ones like React Native Firebase, which has like a heavy native implementation underneath the hood. Expo Go, we can't do that with Expo Go. So I don't know if this is what it means between like when people say like you're ejecting an Expo app, but what we're going to do is essentially run some commands that make this Expo project more fancy, right? More aligned with the React Native CLI flow, where we have an iOS folder and an Android folder. And that allows us to get into the native Android and iOS levels through Xcode and Android Studio and make like, config changes at a lower level. So let's go ahead and go through that process. So in order to make it fancy, in order to use packages like Firebase, like React Native Firebase, we have to install Expo Dev Client. Expo Dev Client allows you to build the, let's see. Okay, so this is the documentation for Expo Dev Client. So we're creating a development build. That's what I mean by making it fancy. I don't know if I need to get into this so much. Yeah, I definitely don't. So okay, let's go ahead and install this package. Make sure I didn't remain muted. Okay, now let's go ahead and install Firebase. And I'm going to install a couple other ones. So React Native Firebase auth, React Native Firebase Firestore. Okay. And then we should go and run and go to this Firebase link, go to the get started, and then go down to Expo manage flow. The bear workflow is like I said, is the Expo Go workflow. And as always, please do correct me. Let me know if I'm talking at my ass. But Expo Go is the bear flow, and like I said, the bear workflow is meant to be super hands off when it comes to the more complex stuff like config and setup and blah blah blah. Manage flows essentially we're just taking over that responsibility, and maybe not fully. I do believe, I was looking at the documentation yesterday around this and video stuff like that. It does seem like Expo still, even if we are in a manage flow, we make it fancy. Expo does still handle quite a bit of stuff, which is different compared to the React Native CLI, which is like, Wild West. You're doing, like, you're in control of everything, and which is, could be beneficial. It's how I've been operating, how we've been operating for the past couple years. So yeah. But yeah, so since Expo Go, we're not working with React Native Firebase. We need to use a custom development client. Follow these directions. We already did that. To install React Native Firebase, use a command, which we did. After installing, add the config plugin to the plugins array. What's a config plugin? I think it's just, we don't need to talk about that, at least at this point. Add a config plugin to the plugins array of your app.json or app config. So it's saying in our app.json, we need to add these files, add these values. So you must provide paths to the Google Services and Google Service Info plist files by specifying them for Android and iOS. Cool. So plugins, what we really care about here is this for now. Maybe we'll have to change this. I'm trying to thinking as I'm going through. Let me close this. So I'll go to app.json, I'll go to plugins, and I'll bring this in. React Native Firebase app. Now what this is saying is that we need to also specify these files. Remember with the with this, I was saying that we have to specify the config in like a file. We need to instead use just like a file that Firebase provides us. So what I'm going to do is go to Firebase console and create a new project for this. Let's do social media app THT. Sure, fine. Default, sure, fine. This will create our Firebase project for us. It'll be on the free tier, so we can't do anything like notifications or cloud functions until we change the billing, but don't worry about much here. 7 days. If you're using Expo, try using Firebase JDK. If you're using Expo, you don't need to use this in Firebase. Are you saying you're saying to use this instead? I'll probably do. I guess I should do a video on that. I'll stick with the React Native Firebase. It's just what I'm comfortable with, and yeah, I guess I'll stick with that. But I guess why do you think? Two questions: why do you want to use it? Why do you use the JDK for Expo? And then also, why don't you use React Native Firebase? Super interested in that. But yeah, React Native Firebase, I've just been using it since the beginning. So yeah, I got all the things set up already. So yeah, okay. So create Firebase. Back to this. So now we have the Firebase project. What we're going to do is first go into authentication. We're going to press on get started, and then we're going to enable email. You can see that there's a ton of different providers. We're going to go ahead and enable the email password, and then that'll be good for that. What we need to do is go back to this cogwheel project settings, and we can see that there's no apps in your project. So this is where we say, okay, I have a Firebase instance, which we called social media app THT. What applications, what platforms should have access to this Firebase instance? That's what we're specifying here. So I'm going to click on iOS. I'm going to do com.tht.tutorials. I'm just going to do tutorials.social media. I'll register that. Don't care about the rest of this stuff. Oh, that's okay. That's okay. That's funny. Okay, so download. We're going to download this file. Then what I'm going to do is, just so I can show you, I'm going to go here, go to Finder, go to video, not videos, go to downloads. I'm going to, let me go ahead and delete these. Go to Google Service Info. So that's going to bring over that file. And I'm going to do this. We don't care about the rest of this stuff, at least in our case. I'm going to go ahead and add another one for Android. And I'm going to do the same thing. com.tht.tutorial.social media. Right, that's what I did. That's what I did over here. Tutorials. Register the app. Do the same thing. Bring this over. And I will bring this down here. Okay, so we got the files locally now. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so what's going on here? So now this is this is telling me that I need to include these things. So I'll go to Android and iOS. We're going to work with iOS for this setup. So yeah. So I got Android here. That's Android, and then we got the iOS here, which works there. And then the last thing that we have to do is add this expo build properties. Is a config plugin configuring the native build properties of your blank. Configures how pre-build command generates the native Android iOS folders. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, but I don't know that we need to. So what I'm going to do is go into here and just copy this. Copy this whole thing. And just make it a sibling here. And then what we're going to do is do npx expo install. And that's going to install all the things that we need. Oh. Failed to resolve module. npx expo install. Oh, that's wrong. Is that how you spell properties? Yeah. So now I think if I do npx expo install, then that's fine. Okay. So at this stage, we have app.json, which we have installed some packages, some Firebase packages. We also installed expo build properties, which is going to help us make it fancy, right? So remember I was saying make it fancy. It's going to help us do that. And how we do that is by doing npx expo pre-build, right? Would you like your Android package name? No, so this needs to be the same exact name as we're doing here. So this is what I want. I think it messes your whole thing up if you don't do that. So let's go ahead and create our native stuff, right? So now we have the native iOS, native Android stuff. This is where, yeah, we're just, we specify the pod files, which we're not obviously getting into at this point. Oh, sorry, this is where we specify the pod files. It's nice. It's interesting to see that the expo pod file is fancy. The basic one from CLI, it might be fancier now, but yeah. Okay, so now we're good. Now what we're going to do is do npx expo run iOS. And then that's going to run a project on here. We can see that we had one previously, so I'm going to delete this one. You know, previously we were working through the Expo Go app and then loading up like the social media thing from there. So if I click on this, yeah, we've been loading through here, but we've been doing it through Expo. The difference now is that we're gonna have an actual app icon here that says social media profile. So yeah. Oh, it is low. Why is it so bad? Yeah, I don't know why the quality is low on. Yeah, why is the quality bad on Twitter? Um, studio.I. Okay, that's not the purpose of this video. I will do that another time. Okay. Okay. So we got this going. Let's wait for this to run. Client here. Sounds good. Yeah, it's all fake Firebase project, so we'll be okay. But let's go ahead and just get started on this. Will run the app. Let's go ahead and get started on the auth actually creating. So what we want to do is go through here, go to store, go to thunk. Oh, we don't want that's so funny. We don't want this. We want thunks. Oh. Opening. No, that's not what I want. There we go. So now we got the same thing, but like I said, now we're working through an app. So this needs to be a user thunk. This needs to move up here. Now we have a create user thunk. We have access to the user through here. We want to also keep track of some other user information. And we want to keep track of some metadata, really. And that's really just going to be created date, which is going to be a number, then created date string, which is going to be a string. Then what we're going to do is, and we'll just do created date for now. I don't want to, do like a parser file in the moment. New user dot created date equals date dot now, and then we'll just leave it at that. Okay, now what we need to do is actually keep track of handle the auth. So we'll do import auth from React Native Firebase auth, and then what we're going to do is do auth dot create create user with email and password, new user dot email and password. Let me clean this up some. Go through that. We don't need that. We have a try catch, so what we're going to do is if it's successful, we'll just leave it at that for now. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I'll copy this over, go to sign up, and I'll talk about this in a second. So I'll talk about the flow in a second. So password on success, on on error. Oops. On error. And I think this is just a lint error. Passwords on success on error. This just needs the spacing probably. Yep. Okay. All right. So then we have, okay, so what's happening? So we're on the sign up screen. As we're changing values on the sign up screen, we're updating the user slice. The user slice pertains to the individual that's using the application. As they change, as they type in their name, their username, we're providing these values we're just updating that redux slice. Why we're doing that in the slice as opposed to local state is because when it comes time to perform some business logic, which is, CRUD operations on Firebase and Redux, we don't want to do that in the UI. We definitely don't want to do that in a hook. We want to do that inside of a thunk. That's what we're calling is a thunk. This thunk exists inside a store, the source/store/thunks folder, and it's typically data model type or document type -thunk. I don't know why it's super bad quality, but that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so inside of this thunk, we're creating a new instance of this user so that we can update its properties. Right, user, it's going to be read only in this by itself, so we have to create a new instance, a new reference, so that we can add properties to it. And then we're just calling auth.create user with email and password. We'll just leave it at that for now, and then we'll go about, actually, let's just go ahead and handle this. So then response, we'll also do a catch. That's funny. Okay, so response. What is response? Response is the user credential. So I guess how are we doing this elsewhere? Root navigator. Let's go to onboarding stack. Create account, auth collector. Okay, we're not actually doing anything. All we want to do is just await this, sorry. And if there are errors, then we're also going to do a const. I'm just going to copy this over. So I have a helper function for handling the errors of Firebase. And we want to we don't want to say email already in use. We just want to. I mean, I guess I don't know that we actually want to show this at the moment. I mean, we used to do this, but I think we just want to show them an error that says, it's just not working. So we want to return on error. If it's successful, what we want to do is create this user. So I want to create the user. So we'll have to create some service for that. But yeah, I just want to show that this auth is working. So if I do, let's say name is Matt. I mean, this stuff doesn't really matter at the moment. All we really care about is this. So Matt at trouthousetech.com. Create an account. We're not getting yelled at, which is really the goal. Where'd that Firebase go? Social media app. I don't know. I mean, I have to check out why it's blurry. But if I go to authentication, we can see that the individual is now there. They signed up through email, right? So that's how the auth works. Now we got to go ahead and actually create the user inside of Firebase. So what we need first is inside of API, we have Firestore. What we also need is a document mutator.ts. This is what we're calling. That's what we call it, a mutator. So let me pull this up over here. Firestore. What document creator, I guess. Yeah, we'll just do document mutator. And then what we're going to do is import Firestore. And then we're going to do create a document with ID. That's what we're going to call this here. So it's going to take in an object. Use object instead. Okay. So it's either going to return an error or it's not, but it's going to, we're going to specify a path, we're going to specify a document ID and some data. And it's going to, do the things for us. So I think what we should do here is, here probably store the Firebase collections ID. So export enum Firebase collections. It's going to be user is going to be user. I think that's all we want for now. We don't want to use this file inside of the UI. We don't want to use this value inside of UI. We want to take it a little bit further and create a services file. Inside of here, we're going to do a user.ts. We're going to export const create user. It's going to take in a user, which is of type user. Then what we're going to do is do const response equals await. Make this an async function. Await create document with ID. We're going to provide the path is going to be Firebase collections.user. And we're going to do user.id and then user. That's it. This response is going to give us, I think we just do this actually, because if it fail, no, we should do this. So if response dot error, we should just throw that. And then if not, nothing's going to happen. I think that's fine. It's totally fine. Okay. So now we're back to here. Now inside of this thunk, what we want to do is, if we're successful at this point, what we want to do is await create user. No. Yeah, create. I'm going to do create user document. Let's go ahead and just set that precedent. We're just going to pass that new user. Sweet. And then we'll do an on success. And what I'm going to do here first is create a use effect up here to sign us out. Because if I go into here and I do auth, so up here, dot current user, let me do dot email. We can see that we're signed in, right? If we weren't signed in, this would be undefined. But the issue is that we are signed in. So what I'm going to do is auth.sign out. And that's just it's not going to do anything. I'm going to close the app so I can get rid of this. Actually, I'm going to go back and show you what this is. Now, if I load this back up, you can see that it's undefined, right? So now we're not signed in. So that's how we're going to determine if we should take the user to and from like an auto login scenario. So yeah. Okay, so we don't need this. We don't need this anymore. I mean, we might come back and do the sign out stuff again. So I'll just. Okay, but now we're good to go. I'm gonna go ahead and do create user account. Now we're here. Matt R. Test user. I'm gonna go ahead back into here and actually delete this account so I can use it again. Matt at trouthousetech.com. Password is gonna be this. So create the account. Now we're not getting yelled at. So let's go ahead and recheck this. We got that. Now let's go ahead and check Firestore. We can see that nothing happened because we didn't actually create the Firestore database. So let's go ahead and do that. Default ID is default. Location, sure, fine. Start in test mode. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that. I think we might have to change the Google service files now. Let's see, we're in test mode. Yeah, we can. We'll definitely change this when it comes time to doing stuff in the future. But look, it looks like it was created, which is odd. It was created. I don't know how it was, but there we go. The issue now is that there is no ID property, right? Firebase created a property for us, but we need to store that property here because we need to give me, we're going to use this document elsewhere. We're going to use this document ID elsewhere, the user.id. We're going to use that on posts, on likes, and everything, so that we have a reference to the user. So let me go ahead and try that again. Let's do this one more time, and then what we're going to do in our utils file, we have generate Firebase ID. This is where we stopped before we created the Firebase stuff. What about time? I'm at 122. I got 30 more minutes. We have generate Firebase ID. We're giving it a path, and then what Firebase is going to do is return back a unique ID. Remember that value we saw in the middle here? That's going to be a unique ID that's generated by Firebase. So inside, we can get rid of this. Inside of here, what we can do is, I guess I'm just going to end this stream because it's bad quality. Yeah. I'm just going to stop streaming there. Okay. What am I doing? Inside of here, I'm going to do let's just give a little spacing. New user.id equals generate Firebase ID, Firebase collections.user. And that's all we need. So now when I click on this, I'll hit create account. It's going to show up. It's going to show up here. It's going to show up in here. And now we can see that this ID matches this, right? So now everything is good. We don't have a bio, which is fine. So yeah, let's go ahead and change this up some. So we're going to sign out once more. I'm going to take that back out. And then let's handle the on success. So when it's successful, what we want to do is do router.push. I'm going to push them to routes.home. And then if it wasn't successful, we want to show an alert.alert that say could not log. And we'll update the UI, the UX a bit later. So not the best error messages, but it's okay. So Matt Rees, MZ Rees, Matt at trouthousetech.com. So I'll go here and we'll go ahead and remove this, but we won't remove this just yet because when I create the account, you'll see that we could not create an account. The reason we could not create an account is because the email is already in use by another account. We'll have to think about the messaging here, but we don't want to be like, hey, someone else created an account with this email, because then they're like, okay, now an account is created with this email. Let's go and hack it, I guess. I'm pretty sure that's like the messaging around it. So we'll go ahead and remove that. We can see that because it failed, it didn't actually, right? If we look at the code, if we're in here, it takes us to the error here, to the catch here, because this is throwing an error. So yeah, if we had like a dot catch, then it would it would handle it there. But the purpose of try catch is to handle those. So go ahead and hit create an account. Now that's successful. Now that just took us to the main application, and now the idea we have some success or something like that, but now we're just taking the user to that application. Sweet. But if I reload the app, we can see that it takes us back to the sign up. It shouldn't take us back to the sign up. The reason it takes us to the sign up is because we're not checking, is because of this. So what we need to do is inside of here, we're going to do import auth from Firebase. We can do if auth dot current user dot email. We're going to call up here, we're going to do const dispatch equals use app dispatch. We're going to go back to here and we're going to do login account, login user thunk. It's going to be the email. We're going to do this. We do login user. Is it one word? Is it two words? Went the long way. So this is going to be email. What we're going to do, we also need the password here. Sorry. No, we don't. We just want the email at this point. We'll have to, this is not a login scenario. This is an auto login scenario, so they don't have to provide the password. Okay, so all we want at this point is an email. So we're going to do, yeah, this is different. Okay, so we're going to do const user equals await get user document. Now, if we go here, we have to go to API. We'll also need document retriever. .ts. So we got document retriever. What we want is to get document with path and ID. So I'm going to do, say I want to keep this simple. So I'm going to import Firestore. Okay, so Firestore. Now let's go ahead and copy this. And then I'm going to comment out this, and we'll come up with something here because we have an old, I feel like we can improve how this looks. Okay, so let's see. All we really want is doc.data. So I think this is fine. Data null error. Yeah, I think that's good. I didn't do anything crazy with this. Okay, so this is going to give it a path and a document ID. We're going to retrieve that, right? So we're going to say, give me the user with this document. So we're going to go to user here, not that. I'm going to do export const, get user document. As user. Sweet. Document retriever we don't need at the moment. We're going to do this, get user document. So try catch, if there's an error, it's going to come down to here. And then what we want to do is dispatch user actions dot set user is the user. And that is it. That's how we are going to log in here. So if we're here, all we have to do is dispatch login user thunk. Email is that. And we'll need another drone there. Oops. I think it's just it's undefined. So we also want to do now. Argument type string is, oh, sorry, y'all. I was right the first time. Let's see, const go to sign up. Const go to app. Yeah, I think for this, so what we want to do here is on success is go to app, on error is go to sign up. Okay. And then we can get rid of this. All right, sweet. So now that should be everything that we need there. Maybe we'll clean it up in the future, but I think we're chilling. Let's see. No document ID exists. Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it's not going to work because no document ID exists with that. No document exists with that ID, right? So if I clean this up real quick and I go to user services, we're trying to specify, give me the user where the document ID is the email. That's not going to work, right? Because the document ID is this random thing. We need to perform a where query here. So let's go ahead, and this, I guess, a little complicated here, but we're going to do document retriever. We're going to call a function called get documents with criteria. And then up here, we're going to call this. All right, so what we're going to need to do is get me the document, the user document, where user.email is equal to a certain value. How much time I got left? Twitter only allows for 2 hours, so I got to be cautious of that. I don't want to split this up. So this is going to be Firestore. Okay. So we have a, let's see, on error. It's going to return back data is null plus the error. This is going to be snapshot. Now we need this handle where query function. Which is down here. Yeah. So complicated. Get documents. We also need to get documents from query snapshot, which we'll have inside of our util folder. And I promise I'll go over this stuff in a second. What do I got? I think at 1:30. Okay, I got 20 minutes. I don't need this anymore. We just get rid of the error messages, and then we'll get up in here. Okay. So we're going to do const handle equals async. A little bit better. All right. So what is happening? So yeah, like I said, we need to retrieve a document where document.email is something. Document dot we need to look. We're looking for a document where a property of that document equals a certain value. In this case, the user.email equals the email that the user has already signed in with. So what we're going to do is create a service file. Get user document with email. What we're gonna change this up is get document with criteria. Up here, we're gonna do const criteria where criteria. We're going to specify a field, which is going to be email. We're going to specify an operation where it's equal, and the criteria is equal to the email. So find me all documents where document.email is equal to the value that I provided to you. We can make this test. It doesn't matter. But this has to be equal to the property on the document that you're looking for. Right? That's how that works. So then all we got to do to pass here is the criteria. So then we go into here, what's happening? So we're specifying a path, we're specifying a criteria. This Firebase.firestore.collection has a .where function, which accepts in a field path, which is what we're providing, an operation, which is one of many different types, which we'll come across a couple. And then the criteria, which is what are we matching it against, right? And then we're running that query to get those values. We then have a handle where query. The reason we have this is because that retrieval, or find me x where blank, where y equals z, that returns back a snapshot. This snapshot is essentially like a list. So we have to loop through the list of that snapshot, which is all the documents that match that criteria, which we know is only going to be one. It should ever only be one in this case. And then we're just returning back that list of values. In this case, that list of values, we don't know what type it is yet, but we'll get there in a second. So if there are documents that match that criteria, then we're going to return back that list of documents. If not, we're going to just let the business object know that no documents were found. Yeah, so And the where query is then returning back that, data and error to whoever it was called, which in this case is here, right? So response, this is going to return back a list of users. Okay. And then we got document retriever, that's good. So then we're in user thunk, log in the user thunk. We're going to do get user document with email. This is going to return back a list of users. I think what I want to do here is just return back 0, the first index. Like I know it's never going to be more than 1. We'll make sure the logic is set up in another way to do that. What we don't want is to we'll have users here and then we'll have to do an index in here. So okay, there we go. That's how auto login works. So I'll keep that in there for now. Actually, I'll just get rid of it. Sorry. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, so that's 41. Let's go ahead and I guess create a post. We'll do the same thing for a post. And see, I feel like I maybe crank this out in 15 minutes. So yeah, we'll see. Okay. Let's go to home. Get rid of all this stuff. So object.value post, this is good. Let's go back to post. We don't need to change that. What we want to do is change how we're setting the default. We don't want the default to be these fake values. So let's go to let's find the usage of add posts. Looks like we're doing that here in the root, which is fine. We don't want to do that anymore. So what we want on this home page is to just have temporarily a continue button that has a child button text, which is text of create post on press. Oh, I'll do that again. We're going to have a button up here that says create post. Sorry, I do that every time. Okay, so we have a button that says create post. That's okay. What we need to do now is set up a thunk dispatch equals use app dispatch. This thunk, let's go ahead and close the others, is going to be store thunks. We're going to call this current post thunk, and it will ideally we have like a create post like modal or form, and also we'll be like looking at a post, right, like we did before. We want to go ahead and I mean, I don't know if I can do this in, I don't know if I can do this. I think it's going to take me like 20-30 minutes to do all this stuff. So I will leave you on a cliffhanger there. And the next video, we'll go ahead and, so next Wednesday, sorry, we'll go ahead and actually get to the good stuff. We'll create a ton of data. We'll sign in with multiple users. What I'm going to, I guess I'll do the login stuff at the beginning of the next one. That'll be quick. I don't know if I need to do that. I'll just do create and then login. I'll do it another time. Maybe I'll do it on the side, offline of these videos. But yeah, in the next one we'll go ahead and create a post. I don't want to do it now because what I have to do is create a thunk to create a post. Make sure that the current user is added to Redux in the proper spot. Make sure that the post is added to Redux, and then when we load the app, okay, yeah. What should I do? Okay, so what we got to do, I'm just gonna try and bang it out. Okay, so inside of here, what we're gonna need to do is also do dispatch users actions, features, users. Okay, we didn't actually do users, so users are gonna be the same as posts. We're gonna change post this to user. Please copy that, and we'll do posts, users, add users, all good stuff. Okay, so now we have a user slice, much like the post slice. So go back and watch that if you haven't. Or watch back the older videos, maybe the first video. If you haven't, what we need to do now is as the user comes across, as the currently logged in, I don't know how that goes. Other users, we will store their documents inside of this users slice. Okay. Now what we want to do is users actions dot add users, and we'll just do this. Okay, so that's good. The reason we do that is because when we view remember when we view the profile, the post detail page, we need to be able to also show the information about that user. Okay, so now we're here. Let's go ahead and do. Let's go do this. We'll do create post thunk. I don't really want to do I don't want anything for now, so I'll just remove this. We'll change this in the next video, but try to zoom through this. Okay, so think of yourself, what do we need? We need a service file for posts. We're going to need a create user document. We're going to need a create post document. We're going to need a post, which is a post. Go back to here. Post. Okay. Clean up all this. Get rid of that. All right. So now what we're going to need here, create post thunk, is to create a new post. Generate Firebase ID, Firebase collections dot post. What else we got? We got user text and created date. So up in here, const equal user equals state dot user dot id. What else are we missing? Text and created date. Text. So this is a test post. Created date is date dot now. What we're going to do is await create post document. We're going to create a new post, and then we're going to do dispatch posts action dot add posts. We're going to do that, and then if we don't have it on success, we don't have it on error. How it's going to be successful because it's going to be successful, and we know it's going to be successful because on the home page it should show up here. All right, so what I'm going to do is dispatch create post. We're going to do that. is an extra thing somewhere. So that means somewhere in here I'm missing something. Okay. Get rid of this. What we need to do though is if we go to post card, you'll remember that we did first name and last name. We should just do name. Okay. So now what's happening is if I create the post, we got 50 minutes, we got 10 minutes, really like 6-7 minutes. We're gonna hit this button. This button is going to call create post thunk. This is going to create like a fake post for us. It's going to add it to Firebase, which we'll check out. It's going to add it to Redux. Because it adds it to Redux, the home screen is hooked up to Redux. All the posts inside of Redux, it's going to store them there, and then we're going to have access to them here. And then it's just going to go down, business as usual. I should be able to see this, and if I click on it, it's going to go to post detail page. Let me go ahead and close this and do stores. Actually, I think it's app post. App post. Let me go ahead and do things here. We're going to see the information. We just want the name here. And then we're going to go to the user detail page, which is the user. I'm going to go ahead and that looks all fixed. And now we have the user info. This user info also wants just the name. Sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and create the post. Why is it lying to me? User. Okay, so it just needed a second to refresh, which we'll have to work through and figure out why that is the case. I mean, it doesn't look like there's a name, maybe. Is that why? But I don't know. We'll go ahead and start here. So great. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Yeah, next video we'll do these things. I guess I got 150. I got a minute or two to run through some things. So okay, so first what we did is we made Expo fancy. All right, by default, we can't use libraries that require like a heavy native setup and config. With Expo Go, we have to, like I said, I believe the term is called eject out Expo. Make it fancy. That's going to go ahead and create the iOS and the Android folders for us. What's up, Rocco? Come here. Rocco's here. I don't got much time, but there's the dude. What's up, buddy? Hi. That's a guy. That's going to eject, create the iOS and the Android files for us. I forget how I had it set up. Then what we did is we installed Firebase. We installed the Firebase packages inside of here. So React Native Firebase, app, auth, and Firestore. App is the root file that we need to do the other things. And then we're obviously doing auth and Firestore because we need them. We had to add some values to app.json. We had to specify the Firebase app. I don't know why we didn't need to do Firestore and the auth side. Sorry, he wants to fight right now. But we also did need to, we had to specify React Native Firebase app inside of the app.json plugins. And then we also had to provide this list where it has the Expo build properties, which when it came time to make Expo fancy, it helps us do that. And then I don't necessarily know why we do this. It was required by Firebase. something to do with like the packages and the frameworks and the pods or something that Firebase needs. We also had to provide the what's up, buddy? We also had to provide the Google Services file for both iOS and Android, and it looks like the bundle identifier was also added by the pre-build command. After that, we were pretty good to go. We went ahead and we what do I got? 55. I got like 2-3 minutes. We went ahead and updated our flow a little bit. So we have layout. Layout still goes to index. Index now doesn't do this anymore. It doesn't populate the data redux with any fake data. Rocker's gonna bark here any second. That takes us to root. Our root is in charge of it's kind of like a landing page, if you will. It's in charge of determining the context. Are we signed in? Are we not signed in? Should we take the user to the home screen, to the main app, or should we take the user to the sign up and onboarding flow, the auth flow? If it's unsuccessful, meaning we're not signed in, so we're going to take them to the sign up screen. The sign up screen has a couple inputs. These inputs are all hooked up to Redux to the user slice, which is for the current the individual using this application. We're keeping track of the name, the username, the email, and the password. We created 3 reusable components. One of them is the input label. All of our input files should have a consistent label. All of our inputs should also have consistent styling and config, and that's what we went ahead and did. We set up input label, we set up app input, and then the last one is just a continue button, which you're looking at here. Just some spacing. We would obviously fix this. We don't want it to touch both sides of the screen, but went ahead and did that. When we press create account, we're going to call the create user account thunks. So the thunks operate as like they're called middleware. So anytime, how we use thunks is anytime we want to perform a CRUD operation on Redux or Firebase, really a CRUD operation on Firebase, and then a CUD, a create, update, or delete operation on Redux. We do that through our thunk. If we want to read from Redux, we can do that in the UI. We can do that in a hook as needed. This create user thunk takes in just the password. We're using that password to validate, to actually do the authentication. If this fails for whatever reason, let's say the email is in use, the password is not strong enough, or the email is incorrectly formatted, which we should handle prior. It's going to throw an error, and then our error handler here, our catch block is going to handle that. But if everything is successful, we're going to go ahead and create the user document. That goes ahead and creates a document at the user path, the user collection. Same for post. When we authenticate, that's going to get populated in there. When we're successful, we're going to go ahead and go back to here. When it's successful, we're going to go ahead and take the user to the home screen. We have an auto login feature enabled, which is inside of this root file, which is just checking if the user is still logged in, if they haven't signed out, if they signed in previously and have since not signed out. If they delete the app, it may or may not reset this. If they are signed in, we're going to call login user thunk, in which we're going to take that email. We're going to retrieve that document from Firebase. We have a bunch of helper functions that we've already created. This is like a where query. So find me the user where user.email is equal to the one that has signed in previously. Once we're done with that, we're going to add it to the user slice, which is in charge of the individual using the application. And then we're going to also add it to the user's dump. And then from there, they're taken to the home page. That home page is where I really got to end this here. That home page is where they create the post. And that follows a similar path in which we are just creating the document from there. So, okay, I do want to end this now because if it goes to the 2-hour mark, Twitter's going to cut it off. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all next week. See ya.